In this video, I'll show you how to get started doing AJAX development with the Microsoft ASP.NET extensions for AJAX. So begin by pointing your browser at the www.asp.net website and click on the AJAX link at the top of the page. Then, to get the product, click on the Download button and select Download ASP.NET AJAX version 1.0. Download the installer. It's just 1.4 megabytes, so it's a quick download. Double-click on the MSI file and run the installer. So this will take just a few seconds to install. And now I can click on Finish. It will display the release notes for me, which is a great idea if you read them to get a look at some of the breaking changes between the previous pre-release versions, etc. And now we can start building our first application. So fire up Visual Studio or Visual Web Developer and select Create a Website. And we can choose the ASP.NET AJAX enabled website. That template is installed in Visual Studio and Visual Web Developer because we've installed the MS AJAX extensions. By the way, the default install location is in Program Files, Microsoft ASP.NET. It creates this ASP.NET 2.0 AJAX extensions directory, and inside that there's the version number. And here are the DLLs, the EULA, etc., as well as the there's a directory for the client-side runtime. So if you want to poke around inside the JavaScript files, you can do that as well. So here we're going to create our first AJAX application in this ASP.NET page. So you notice that we have a script manager on the page, and every web page that uses Microsoft AJAX must have one and only one instance of the script manager. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to create some content, and I'm going to add a few label controls, and we're going to use these label controls as trace indicators to show which parts of the page gets updated. Because what we're going to do is implement a common AJAX development pattern called partial page update. So I've got a few label controls. I'm also going to add a button control, and we're going to use that button control to, I'm going to double-click on the button control and generate a server-side event handler, and this will just let us click on the button and get a round trip to the server. The actual button click event handler is not going to do anything. It's just going to get called back on the server. And then in our page load event, so this will happen every time the page gets refreshed, we're going to populate the text property of those label controls with the current date and time. So it's just going to serve as a trace, and every time we get a refresh, we'll see that the text property of those label controls will get updated with the latest date and time. The other thing that I'm going to do back here in my markup is I'm just going to add a couple of horizontal rules before and after the second label control, just so we can differentiate that center label control. And now if I run my application, we'll see that every time I click on the button, all three of those label controls get updated with the current date and time. So as I click away at the button, note here, each one of those changes. Right? So this is just a standard ASP.NET application, but what we want now is we want to AJAX enable this application and implement the partial page update pattern. So we're going to do that by using the sort of quintessential ASP.NET AJAX experience, at least in the beginning, and we're going to include an update panel control on our page. So we'll go down to the bottom of our toolbox where the Microsoft AJAX installer has installed these toolbox items in the tab labeled AJAX extensions. And we've included the partial page update control on our page. This is a server-side control which will allow us to place content inside this update panel control, and then anytime any of the content inside the update panel fires an event that will cause a postback, the server knows to send back the content to update the content inside the update panel, but only the content in the update panel. So it won't send back the content for the rest of the page, and this is how we'll get that dynamic partial page update. So let's grab the second label control and the horizontal rules that are used to delimit it. Oops. So let's put those horizontal rules in there too, and then I'll move the. There we go. And I'm going to put the button control in there as well. Let's get back in there and put that other horizontal rule back in. And now if we run our little application, now if I click on the button control, note that only the label inside the update panel is being updated. So the content that's outside that update panel not being updated. And it's that easy to begin implementing the partial page update pattern that's common to AJAX, AJAX style development using the Microsoft AJAX extensions. However, let's make one little change. So it's possible that we don't want or can't have the button control whose event is causing the update inside the update panel. Maybe we can't have that reside inside the update panel itself. So let's take that back out of the update panel. And that's not a problem though. Let's just go into source mode, find the markup for our update panel and look at the content template. And then right under the content template, let's add a triggers collection. Right, so we can basically say, I want this update panel to be updated based on some other controls event. So inside the triggers collection, let's add an async postback trigger. Let's specify that the control ID that we want to be listening to is button 1, and the event that we want to be listening for is the click event. And so basically all we've done is said for this update panel we are specifying a trigger, and we want to listen to the click event of the button 1 control, and when the click event fires we want to update the content inside the update panel. So let's go ahead and run our application now. And even though the button is not inside the update panel, we're getting only the content that's inside the update panel updated when we click on the button. So notice as I continue to click, it's just this timestamp that's being updated. And that's it. It's that easy to get started doing AJAX style development using the Microsoft ASP.NET 2.0 extensions for AJAX.